Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Horror Corner. Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Horror Corner. I'm your host, Sean Patrick Hirsch, and this week we are doing another movie review. This is A Blade in the Dark. Released in 1983, directed by Lamberto Bava. Yes, son of the legendary Mario Bava. The film stars Andrea Occhipinti, Michele Soavi, and Lara Lamberti. Yes, A Blade in the Dark, definitely kind of a hidden gem in the giallo genre, which was originated, of course, by his father, Mario Bava, and Lamberto worked on some of Mario Bava's films, like A Bay of Blood and Shock. He also worked with Dario Argento on Tenebrae, and of course he's directed his own films, like Macabre, and of course Demons was probably his best-known work. Also, this film was co-written by Dardano Sacchetti, who wrote on so many classic Italian horror films, like, House by the Cemetery and City of the Living Dead and stuff like that. Yeah, classic stuff. So yeah, this is definitely kind of a hidden gem in the giallo genre. And I think it's got all that classic style of the best Mario Bava and Dario Argento films, Definitely really enjoyed. The film begins with these three little kids in this kind of dark, kind of haunted-looking house. And yes, one of them is Bob from House by the Cemetery. I'm like, no, why is Bob in this movie? And at one point, one of the actors says, oh, he's a great actor. Like, what? No. But at any rate, there's these three little kids. Luckily, Bob isn't in this film too much. It's kind of brief. And they're in this haunted-looking house, and they're looking down the stairs, and they're like, oh, we shouldn't go down there, or should we? Why don't you go down there? So they make the Bob kid go down there. Next thing you know, you hear him screaming, and this ball flies on the wall, and there's like a blood stain on the wall. And it turns out that that's just a scene that they're filming for a movie. This lady, Sandra, is directing this upcoming horror film. And this guy, Bruno, who is her friend, is working on the score for the film. So he's a horror composer, which is really cool. It's kind of cool to see that in a horror film. It's like a movie within a movie kind of thing. And this film has a nice, cool horror score to it. So what happens is, to work on the mood for this film, Sandra, the director, recommends this guy, Bruno, to go to this kind of secluded house. That's kind of a villa. That's a rental. To kind of give him a place to set kind of the mood for the film, to get him in horror mode, so to speak, because it's like this abandoned house. Yeah, so he takes her up on it, and he goes to the house, and he's got his piano there, set up there, and all his recording equipment, and his headphones, and he's, working on the score and stuff. And people just kind of start showing up in the house, these random people. Like, these women, like, pop out from the closet. like, who are these people? I guess they're, like, neighbors around town, and they just happen to, break and enter into the house to hang out there and go swim in the pool and, use the bathroom and, hang out in the house. This abandoned kind of rental. But it's kind of funny, like, one girl literally pops out of the closet. The guy, like, what the... and one of them being his girlfriend even shows up randomly at the house out of nowhere. And, yeah. So while he's working on his composition for this new upcoming horror film. Things start happening around the house. Murders are happening, yes. So these random people that show up in the house end up getting killed off. These young, beautiful women. One of them being a model. So yes, this girl, Katya, who he first meets, who's just like throws herself at him, you know. She ends up getting killed off by this mysterious murderer with this retractable razor. And it's great how they're so dramatic when the killer uses the razor, when it slowly pops it up. Pip, 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 click, click, you know. And one scene's kind of hilarious. This girl, like, comes out of nowhere and just wants to swim in his pool, you know, and it ends up being Katya's sister. And she's wondering, you know, where she just kind of disappeared. And she goes swimming in the pool, and then at the bottom of the pool is the retractable razor, the murder weapon. And she just dives in the pool and grabs it, and pulls it out of the pool with her, and then she goes in the bathroom and changes, and she's got the razor there, and guess what? She gets killed by the razor. There's one brutal scene, though. There's definitely some brutal kill scenes in this movie. The girl gets stabbed with a huge, long kitchen knife in the hand, and that kind of holds her to the counter. In the meantime, the killer puts a plastic bag over her head, and not only is she suffocating from that, but the killer's bashing her head on the counter, you know, several times. And then throws her in the bathtub and slashes her neck with the knife. Really nasty stuff. And of course, as all Giallos do, this has a lot of Hitchcock influence. Very much Psycho, I would say. It's very stylish, very well directed by Lamberto. There's one great shot we see the victim cowering in fear in front of this kind of translucent window, and you see the killer on the other side. And you could just barely make out certain features, but it's such a cool shot, very eerie. But there is certainly some gapes and logic in the film where where you've got this guy, Bruno, who's there the whole time while these girls are being killed, and he never hears anything going on, any of the commotion, because, you know, he's wearing the headphones, you know, working on his music, so he never hears anything going on. But he tries to be a detective, you know, he finds little traces of blood on the floor and on the counter, and he sees a hole where the knife was, where he stabbed a girl in the hand. But yeah, the funny thing is, when these girls are killed, they end up going through the house through either like the back door or through the garage. They never just go around to the front door and knock on the front door. If they did that, they'd never be killed. But it's kind of hilarious. But yeah, the film is very effective. It's got a great score. It's got that classic Giallo feel to it. You do hear the voice of the killer in certain scenes when you see the killer in the kitchen, the knives on the wall, and you see the killer like laughing and crying at times, and feeling the knife, putting finger on the knife, you know. And the director, Sandra, her character knows of someone that stayed there previously who she thinks might be involved in the murders. And she calls the house, and the killer picks up and answers, and you just hear the killer kind of like crying. And it's very weird, very mysterious. And I'm not going to give away the main plot point of this movie, you know, the secret of the identity of the killer. I'll definitely leave it for you guys to check out, because it's really cool and interesting. And I want you guys to see it, and want to see what you guys think of it. So I'll not give away the reveal of the killer, because that's the whole thing with these giallos, is the secret, mysterious murder, and the identity, and of course the final act revealing the killer. You know, why would I want to give that away? So I won't. But I will say that the film is very classic giallo. It's got that Hitchcock feel to it, you know. And it's got the feel of, certainly, of the influence of his father, Mario Bava, in there, who directed one of the greatest giallos of all time, Blood and Black Lace, at least in my opinion, is like the template for the giallo. So he's got great footsteps to follow in, of course, but I think he does a great job here. And I would have to say that this is Lamberto Bava's best giallo film, and maybe his best film period. I do love Demons. It's a real fun film, but I'd say this one is his most competent. I'd say his most disturbing film is Macabre, if you've ever seen that. I recommend checking it out, but you will be disturbed. It's very, very disturbing, Macabre. But I think this is Lamberto's best film, most competently directed, beautifully shot, very eerie and mysterious, and it's got that great classic giallo feel, even if it does have Bob in it. The acting, of course, is not the greatest. It's just your standard kind of 80s slasher type acting, you know. It's kind of badly dubbed over the voices. Obviously they're talking Italian, but so yeah, some of the dubbing is really bad, but it's got some brutal kills, some nasty blood and gore effects, and it's got a great mystery to it. I love the reveal of the killer, and how it does throw a lot of red herrings at you. Like, there's this one creepy guy who is like the groundskeeper slash maintenance guy who, you know, spies on the women. Sometimes he watches them undress and stuff. He's kind of creepy, and yeah. And also, Bruno's girlfriend is hinted at as possibly being the killer as well, because we find out that she's been staying in this house all along, when she's supposed to be at work, working on a play, because she's an actress. And it's like, oh, well, what's she doing? What's she up to, you know? So it throws some nice red herrings at you. And one thing I was disappointed on, I have to say, is right smack dab in the middle of the film, they give you a huge clue as to who the killer is, or what the killer's deal is, you know. And that was kind of disappointing, you know, to me. But I like how it's got kind of that movie within a movie thing. Because the killer, you see, you know, grabbing the the film slabs and like hacking them up, you know. So it's like, what's going on with this killer, you know? How are they involved with this? They're obviously incensed by film in some way, you know. So that gives you clues, you know, as to who it could be. But henceforth, I will not give that away. Definitely check out this film. It's definitely a hidden gem, in my opinion. One of the lost giallos that I think is really worth a watch. So definitely check out A Blade in the Dark, directed by Lamberto Bava, released in 1983. And thank you for joining me, Sean Patrick Urshan, in the Horror Corner. Tune in and stay scared. Folks, don't forget to grab your Sean Patrick Urshan gear and represent the Horror Corner. Also, check out these awesome mugs we have, perfect for your coffee. And definitely check out the Horror Hangout live stream t-shirt and represent the legacy of the Horror Hangout. Check out the link in the description below this video.